What am I doing? What did I do? Good. Yes. This stresses even more in the name of the Mashiach. The Mashiach is going to be the Redeemer, Goel. That the Mashiach is going to be called Mitzora. He is going to be called a leper, the leper of Beis Rebbe. That he's sitting among the poor people and he's suffering their diseases. As it says in Isaiah, that he will be smitten. Hunami Megor. They will be diseased and he'll also be diseased. That Mashiach is found in the world, in this sick world, in the time of exile. And he's found in the situation of exile. That's what it means that Mashiach, they said he's sitting among the poor. There's a story about Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. This is in the Gemara and Sanhedrin. There's all these things about Mashiach, how the Mashiach can come from the dead, etc. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Says Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Elijah the prophet used to appear to him regularly. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. And there's a whole story about how Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi stole the sword from the angel of death. Anyway, so he said, I want to see the Mashiach. So the Elijah the prophet said, no problem. He's sitting among the poor people. He's sitting among the lepers, and they've got these wounds and everything. And he's sitting among them. He also has a bunch of wounds. The difference is that they have one big bandage for their wounds, and he has individual bandages, so that if it's announced the time that he has to come and redeem the Jews, so he doesn't have to put the whole thing together or take the whole thing off. He can just say, like, put one on, implying, in any case, that he's the Mashiach is going to be sick with everybody else. What does it mean he's going to be sick? Namely, the whole world is sick, and Mashiach is part of the world. Shesova chaloya galus, that he's suffering the disease, the sickness of exile. Now, what does it mean, exile? We talked about this a lot of times before. Exile means that if a person is put into a dark dungeon, and he can't see, and he can't hear, and he can't deal with anybody else, and really this person is a big genius, and he's friendly, and he's nice, and he's happy, and all of a sudden one day they just open up the door, and the person can get out, and suddenly he reveals all of these abilities that he has and all these potentials. The Rebbe gave the example of a little apple tree that grows up and you put a bucket over it. Right? A little sprout grows up, you put a bucket over it. So the thing, it withers and it loses its color, it loses everything. It doesn't receive any water, no sunshine, no air. And as soon as you take that bucket off, so suddenly it starts to grow and you see the potential. It was a beautiful tree with leaves and fragrant flowers and colorful fruits, and they're tasty and they're sweet and they're nourishing. And the fruits have in it seeds in them, and there's leaves, you get shade from the tree, wonderful. All that was hidden. While the tree is hidden, that's called exile. Galus. The world has such tremendous potential. Every human being has such tremendous potential within them, and Mashiach is going to reveal all this potential in each and every human being. And as long as it's not revealed, that's called exile. And it says the Mashiach is part of it. He's part of it. He's trying to reveal the essence of, he's trying to bring Torah to everyone in the world. And it's just, for whatever reason, God doesn't want it to happen. So he's suffering. Like it says in the Gemara, Omer Rab, Hai, Min Chaya. It says in the Torah over there, if the Mashiach is from one who's among the living, he will be like Rabbeinu HaKodesh. He'll be like Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi. It says if he'll be like the dead, he'll be like Daniel. And Mashiach can come from the dead also. If the Mashiach is from someone who is alive now, it'll be Rebbe. It'll certainly be Rabbeinu HaKodesh. Why? Because he was suffering, and he was a big chassid. He was devoted totally to God, and he's waiting for the future redemption. He's waiting to be redeemed from the time and the situation of exile. Melech HaMashiach will redeem all the Jewish people in a complete redemption, that there's not after it any exile. Like the Rambam says, it'll be a total revelation of good in the world, and there won't be any more bad. There won't be any more death eventually. Like the Rambam says, the Maimonides says, a king will stand up from the house of King David, etc., and he'll bring all the Jewish people to do Torah and mitzvahs, and he'll strength in Judaism, etc. Says the Rebbe, this is all. We can also connect this with Pirkei Avot. Now, you know, we are saying, we talked about this and we have a class in it. In fact, at 3:00, you're all invited. We have a class in Pirkei Avot. Simple meaning of Pirkei Avot. Pirkei Avot are the ethics, the ethical teachings of the of the rabbis, the great rabbis, from Moses all the way down to the later rabbis, right? The rabbis of the Talmud of the Talmud, sayings by them. There's Pirkei Avot, the chapters of the fathers. There's 6 chapters altogether. Now every week we finish another. Every Shabbat we finish another chapter. Mincha of Shabbat, the end of Shabbat. And this we're doing the second. This week we're doing the second chapter. Perek Sheni of Avot. What does it say? How does it begin? Rebbe Omer. The second chapter starts. Rebbe says, with what is a straight way that a person should choose for himself? Ezu derech yeshara sheyabor lo adam. What is the straight path that man should choose in life? Kol shu tiferet lo seh, tiferet lo mina adam. It's one that has to be good for him, beautiful for him, and beautiful to others as well. Okay, what does this mean? What does it mean? Rebbe said, what is the straight path that a person should choose in life? That which is beautiful for him and beautiful from others to him. Okay, what does this mean? First of all, who is saying this? This is Rebbe. This is the same Rebbe we talked about that it says in the Gemara that he could have been the Moshiach. Rabbeinu HaKodesh. He was the one that organized the Mishnah. He was the one that arranged them all. It says, this was after the temple was destroyed, and he was afraid that everybody would forget all the laws. So he arranged all the laws. A tremendous mind, tremendous. Okay, so what's this got to do with Mashiach? What is the straight way that a person should choose for in his life? Any which is good thing, which is beautiful for him and beautiful to him from others. What does this mean? First of all, let's explain what does it mean. Ezu derech yeshara. What is the straight way? What do you mean? What is the straight way for man? Ari mikra malik dabra kasub. It's written clearly. Why ask the question? What is the straight way for man? Everybody knows the straight way for man. Straight way for man is the Torah. Yesharin darchi Hashem. Straight is the ways of God that a person should choose. What does it mean? A person, man. Man should choose man. This is the highest level of all. There's man can be called, like we said before, there's 4 names given in the Torah for man. There's Adam and Ish and Enosh and Gever. And Adam, all of them describe certain levels of completion, of wholeness of a man. Right? Even like you say in English, that's a human being. Oh, this is a real man. Right? This is a human being. He acts in a human way. Right? A human being means that this is a real human being. Right? I mean, we're not comparing him to an animal. We say, this is a real human being. If you also say that's a real man, what does it mean? Usually it's brave. Okay, we say a real human being means that he's expressing his care, his compassion, his intelligence. This is the Shlema de Kula, Adam. And who is saying this? Rebbe. Rebbe is saying this. That's Rabbeinu HaKodesh. But it doesn't say Rebbe. His name is Rebbe Yehuda Hanassi. That was his name, as he was called in the Mishnah, which is after that. But he's called Rebbe. Okay, what's this going on? Listen to this. Maybe we can say like this. We said before that regarding the Mashiach, that Rebbe, it says that Rebbe could have been the Mashiach. Rabbeinu HaKodesh, he had all the qualifications of Mashiach. We have to just mention something. The Jewish people are supposed to believe in Mashiach and be impatiently awaiting Mashiach. We pray every day. All we're waiting for God to come. We're waiting for the Mashiach to come the whole day. And it doesn't mean we're just waiting all day. It means that he's supposed to come any moment of the day. We're waiting that his arrival should be all day long. Any time of the day he should be arriving. So it says that on Rebbe, it says that if the Mashiach is from those who are, Rabbeinu HaKodesh said, if the Mashiach comes from those who are alive, then certainly it's Rabbeinu HaKodesh because he's suffering and etc. That even though he was a Chassid Gamor, he said he was a complete Chassid, that he had finished all of his work, he was the level of Adam. Nevertheless, it says that he suffered. What was he suffering? He was suffering because of the exile, just like the Mashiach. The Mashiach is called the leper of the house of Rebbe. He was the Metzora of the house of Rebbe. That even though he's the ultimate completion of a human being, he perfect understanding of everything. There was no knowledge that was escaped from him. And he was compassionate with every human being, and he was powerful and he was brave. He had all the good aspects. Nevertheless, he was sick from the exile. If he wasn't so sensitive, then he would be able to lead a happy life. But he couldn't. He was so sensitive to the world. As long as the world wasn't the way it was supposed to be, he was suffering. That's what Rebbe said. What is the straight path that a person should choose? Adam, this is talking about this level of Adam, this highest level of humanity that there can possibly be. When he is, namely, Adam means a person that all of his deeds and his speech and his thoughts and his feelings and his ideas and his whole, all of the qualities of man are totally fixed up by him, right? His memory, his compassion, his bravery, everything is here. But what the problem is that he's in a world that the world is all messed up and he's responsible for the world. The Pasulas of Sof Levushav, why is he called a Metzora? Because a Metzora is a person that he's Adam, but he's just got a little bit of bad in him, and this comes out on his surface. That's the same thing with the Mashiach. He's going to be called a Metzora because he's a perfect person, but the world is a blemish. And this is the end of his garments, it says. And this has not been purified yet. The world is not purified. Why? Because of the exile. Like Rebbe. That's why Rebbe was suffering. In our generation, the Ikvat Mashiach, that we've already finished all of the work that we have to do. This, the Rebbe said, what was it? This is 30 years ago. It's already finished everything that has to be done. The world is perfected already. Call in Yani Avoda that we had to do it all the time of exile. So we can say all of the Jewish people are now at this level, right, of perfection. There's just one little blemish on the Jewish people. You see a Jewish people that aren't religious, that are against religious, it's just superficial. That's what the Rebbe is saying. He's the big expert. The question is, since everybody is already complete and we've finished all the work we have to do, so if so, that's what he says, Adam. That's what the question was. Ezu Yavor Allah Adam. Which is the straight way that an Adam should choose? He says, Adam is perfection. What type of a straight way is that a person should choose? What's the question? It says, because we're talking about an Adam in the time of exile. And because of that, we have the question is, since we've finished everything we have to do now in our generation, and we've all reached this level of Adam, if so, what are we supposed to do more? What are we supposed to do more in order to make this exile go away and the Mashiach come? Well, we've done everything. We're already at the level of Adam, says the Rebbe. What's the answer? Kol shi Tiferes Lo said, it has to be what is beautiful to you and beautiful to others. What is beautiful? Beautiful refers to the Torah. Tiferet Matan Torah. The most beautiful thing in the world is the Torah. Shemitzad Gadol Ma'alasa V'kocho Lechaber Beis Tenuos the Ratzon. The Torah has the power that it can unite these two opposites that we were talking about before, namely running away, trying to get close to God, and coming back and trying to fix up the world. That's what it means, Tiferet. It's good for me. The Torah is Tiferet, is beauty for me. I'm coming close to God by learning the Torah. And coming back is the beauty of man coming back into this world. Namely, these high lights should be drawn down. Like we just finished learning the law of over there, Rabba Bar Nachmani, that he was able to connect directly to the creator of the universe, even through the Torah. The by means of this is revealing the true reason why there was such a thing as this blemish of galus, this tzorat, these tremendously high lights that could not be. Remember we said before that really this tzorat was really tremendously high revelations of God that just can't be accepted in this world. So it comes out to look bad because we're not proper vessels yet. So there has to be some higher light that's drawn down that fixes us up so that we can receive these blessings of God that we were unable to accept, and that's what caused the tzorat. So what's these upper lights that's going to fix everything up? And that's going to be, that's the Torah. When these upper lights of the Torah are revealed, that's when it's Tiferes Lo Adam, learning Torah in such a way that there can't be anything, such a thing as exile anymore. If we can add on even more, the reason that the Torah is called the straight way, and that through the Torah, learning the Torah, understanding the Torah, doing what we're doing right now, and that this is the straight way to reveal and bring the Mashiach. According to what we said, that the Mashiach is going to have two things. Mashiach is going to, what's the Mashiach going to do? Mashiach is going to come, what's going to be? We said eventually there's going to be miracles, but not in the beginning. The Rambam says clearly that the Mashiach doesn't have to do any miracles. Even though, of course, there will be miracles. There'll be the raising of the dead. But the beginning, there won't have to be any miracles. It says the Mashiach is going to have two qualities. He's going to accomplish two things. First of all, he's going to be a king. Melech HaMashiach, the King Mashiach. And also the Mashiach is going to be a rabbi, a teacher. He's going to teach Torah to everybody. What's the difference between a king and a teacher? A king, the Melech Mashiach, the Mashiach is going to show in a way of makif. He's going to tell people to do things they don't understand, even that are against their understanding. Bittul b'Kabbalas ol Malchusa. A king tells everybody, this is what you have to do. Even if somebody says, but your majesty, I understand differently. He says, so what? That's why I'm a king. You're not a king. If you're a king, then we'll do what you understand. And I'll go against my understanding. But you're not the king. I'm the king. When the king comes along, then you have to do what the king says against everyone's understanding. That's why everybody hated Moses. That's why they hated King David. Because they wanted to say, listen, Moses, you're a great person, but you're not a king. Come on, you took us out of Egypt, you taught us the Torah, but now we have our own opinion. Same thing with King David. King David was a king. A king makes people do things against their understanding, and people don't like that. Says that's the aspect of a king. Mashiach is going to be a king. King Mashiach, Melech HaMashiach. He'll make people do things that are for their own benefit, but above their understanding. We see that if people go according to their understanding, we see what a mess the world is now. Right now, if you look in the just a cursory look at what the world, everybody is against everybody else, right? The China is against the Japan, and Japan is against this, and then the Iraq is against Iran, and Iran is against Iran. They're all against Israel and the United Nations. Everybody's fighting everybody else in there. And that's if you go according to human understanding. So the king, the Melech HaMashiach, is going to be a king, that he's going to tell people to stop according to your understanding. You have to do what I say, whether you understand it or not. That's one aspect of the Mashiach. But the other aspect is he's going to be a teacher. The teacher is that he's going to explain everything to everybody. He's going to explain how the Torah will answer all problems in the world. It's as though Ke'ilu Yoldo. Just Ad Shechashit Ke'ilu Yoldo. He'll make people make a new world from the Torah. People will realize that what should be motivating them from the inside is the Torah. We can say that both of them joined it together, that he's going to be a king and he's going to command everybody against their understanding, and he's going to be a Rav, that he's going to explain everything to everyone. That's called Makif Upanimi, a surrounding level and an inside level. Together, this shows that there's higher, tremendously high levels that we had, that we're just talking about in the previous mimer, that even the heavenly court couldn't understand, that they'll be put into vessels. Like Rabbi Bar Nachmani was, and Rabbi Meir, we said they were at these levels. But this will be revealed to everyone. By what? By means of the power of the Torah. And that's the whole thing of the Mashiach. Mashiach will be, that's what he said, Ezod Derech Yashar Yibor Lo Ha'adam. Adam, even though a person is totally complete, Ezu derech yeshar, who is the straight way, that Adam, even though a person is an Adam, is totally complete, whole, right? But nevertheless, because we're still in exile, so we have to know how to fix it up, how to get rid of this little bit of bad that there is. He says Tiferes is by means of the Torah. The Torah, it has to be good for us. It will unify our desire to go up to God and our desire to be back in the world. What will unite? The Torah will. Torah is completion. Also, we can also connect this to the month of Iyar. The month of Iyar is the second month. Just 1 second. There you go. The month of Iyar is the second month of the year. That in this month that we're doing work from below to above. What does it mean from below to above? In the month of Nisan, that's when we got out of Egypt, as God did the whole business himself. The Jews were servants, slaves. They wanted to be slaves. They were screaming out to God that God should make the slavery a little bit easier. That's all. They never dreamed to get out. Nobody all of a sudden came along Moses and he said, "That's it, we're leaving Egypt." What are you talking about? Nobody's going to leave Egypt. How are we going to leave Egypt? All of a sudden there were the 10 plagues. Even then the Jews didn't want to leave. You got it. If it says that 4/5 of the Jews remained back in Egypt, and then Pharaoh had to get rid of them by Bashalach. Everything God did, everything was from above to below. Came the month of Iyar, the second month, the Jews were already out of Egypt. Then they did what's called Sfirat Omer. They counted the Omer. After the revelation from above to below, after the revelation from above, in the month of Nisan, there were great miracles to the Jews, and there were even nisim, miracles, that God himself revealed himself and took them out of Egypt. That was the month of Geula, until everybody saw that it was a redemption without any end. But after that, they had to start to do work on their own. That's the counting of the Omer in the month of Iyar. Maybe we can say that in the continuation of the months, Nisim and Iyar is the connection between the joining of them, that there has to be something that's even higher than both of them to join them together. There's the month of Iyar, there's drawing down big revelations of light by means of our service below in the month of Iyar. So in order to join them together, namely the revelations from above and also our work from below, there has to be something, a level which is higher than both of them. Like we explained before, in what's Iyar? Iyar is the first days of Iyar, this was a couple of days ago, Tiferet Shabbat Tiferet. Tiferet Shabbat Tiferet, that was the day that the Rebbe Marash was born. Now, every week of Sfirat Omer is a different one of the 7 spheres of God's emotions. Chesed, Gebura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. 7 emotions. And each one of these 7 emotions contains in it 7 emotions. It's divided into 7. Each one of these 7 also has 7. And that corresponds to the days of the week. And the day in this week, we just finished a couple of days ago, Tiferet Shabbat Tiferet, beauty of beauty. That by means of this is joined these 2 things before we said Tiferet, that's the Torah. So the Torah joins our desire to be with God and also our desire to make this world a perfect place. Since the big revelations of the month of Nisan, which is the month of redemption, are drawn down by means of the service of man, so therefore, you join these 2 things together, the highest comes down to the lowest. There can't be any more exile. But what? There's a redemption of redemption of the world which is total forever. And as we said before, the word galut, there's gola, you don't have it here. All we have to do is put an aleph into it, and there's geula. And the aleph, that's our learning Torah in a way that connects us with the giver of the Torah. And we'll just say a little bit more. Iyar, this month that we're in now, Iyar, are the first letters Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and Rachel. And these are called the 4 feet of God's chariot, of God's throne. These three fathers, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, that's three of the feet. That corresponds to Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet. These are the level of lights of God, revelations of God. But Rachel, that she's the fourth, she's the level of Malchut. This is the vessel that receives. Joining them together with Iyar, this shows on the great lights of God, which will come into the world in a settled way. As we're going to continue, God willing, well, let's go up to Yud Aleph. Let's do it. Maybe we can add that Rachel also indicates on the highest level of all of our service in the time of exile. Why? That's Rachel. Rachel shows on the time of exile. Rachel, it says she cries for her children. You ever go to the grave of Rachel? In Hebron is buried the Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and their wives. Who is buried there? Avram is with Sarah, Yitzchak is with Rivka, and Yaakov had two wives with Leah. Where is Rachel? She's buried in a different place. She's buried in Beit Lechem. It says the reason is that there's a reason, but nevertheless she's crying for the Jewish people. Why haven't they come back? Why are they scattered around the world? Enenu, that he isn't there. What do you mean he isn't there? They aren't there. He isn't there means that God, when the Jewish people are not all together serving God in the Holy Land of Israel, then God, so to speak, is also in exile. God goes away. So she's crying for the Jewish people and she's crying for the revelation of God that's not here. By means of, that's Rachel. By means of Rachel, namely being in this physical world, the Jewish people in the time of exile, that's why she's crying. By means of this work of Rachel crying and being miserable because there's no exile, listen, you have to serve God in happiness, but it's because God tells us we have to be happy. But really the exile is terrible. By means of this feeling bad and broken inside that we're in exile and doing everything we can to stop it, by means of this comes the redemption. Like it says, it says this is also on our grave. There's a reward for your work. Shuvu banim legabulam, that all of the Jews will come back to Israel. It says Moshiach will come, build a holy temple here, and that will bring all the Jews back to Israel. Even more miraculous, it'll bring the Israelis back to Israel. All the Israelis, tens of thousands, who knows, hundreds of thousands of Israelis that left Israel, they'll come back. That's even a bigger miracle. There'll be these big, amazing lights of God, which are now removed up. They'll all be drawn down into this world by means of the work of Rachel and the Rachel inside of us. That will negate the possibility for any bad to be in the world. Like Rachel also means a sheep. It says that a sheep, when you get sheared, as a sheep is quiet. That's the Jews in the time of exile. It's like Rachel, like a sheep in front of the non-Jews. They're shearing us, taking us in, and we're quiet until the opposite of the purification in the time of Gullus. The time of Gullus, all the Jews are impure. That won't be anymore. But Adarabah, there'll be a total redemption by means of Rachel. Okay, we can also attach this to Sfirat Omer. God willing, we will continue this tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday, but we will learn tomorrow from 8:15 until 9 o'clock. One class tomorrow. Okay, today also we'll learn at 3 o'clock, we're going to learn Pirkei Avot. So everybody's invited. But now let us learn Hayom Yom. Hayom Yom, which takes 2 minutes. The daily, wrong thing. The daily message. Hayom Yom. The daily message from the writings of the Rebbe, Melech HaMashiach, sayings from his father, from his father-in-law. It is possible to utilize for God's service all of your talents and behavior traits, your personality, even your bad personality traits, even evil personality traits. For instance, it says Menachem Zusha of Anipoli, he learned another of ways to serve God from a thief. It says you can learn 7 things from a thief. First of all, a thief, how can you learn from a thief? And one of my teachers, his name was Rabbi Mendel Futtefas, he sat in prison in Russia. The communists put him into prison for a long time, and then they put him into exile. He said, obviously, Zushavani probably didn't sit very long in prison, if he was ever in prison. He said, because if he was sat a long time in prison, he could learn thousands of things from a thief. But here's 7. Listen, these are 7 things you can learn from a thief and incorporate it into your service of God. Number 1, a thief works quietly without anybody knowing. You serve God, you don't have to advertise it. You have your own private service of God. Number 2, a thief is willing to put himself into danger. He's willing to risk his life even. A thief goes and steals a few dollars. If the owner of the house is there with a gun, he doesn't know. Maybe he has a big dog. A thief is willing to take big risks. Also, in order to serve God, it should be that you're willing to risk something, at least to risk your how do you say, your comfort a little bit. Number 3, one of the even smallest details are big importance to him. Right? The window was open a little bit, what time the owner leaves, does he have money, does he not have money, where exactly it's located, is the alarm working? The littlest details are very great importance. Does he has neighbors? Are the neighbors awake? So he works quietly. He's willing to take big risks. He pays attention to details. Another, he works with great effort. A thief is willing to put tremendous effort, climb up buildings and whatever, right, in order to get into the house, in order to steal. This is number 5. He is quick, alacrity. He's not lazy. Zrizut. What does it say? Zrizut, right. He's quick. He works quickly. He doesn't, he's not lazy. Doesn't get into the house and say, oh no, I'm going to take a little rest. Maybe I'll steal tomorrow. Number 6. This is number 5. A, B, C, D, E, F. Oh, F. So this is number 6. A thief is confident and he's optimistic. That's why he breaks into somebody's house in order to steal, breaks into the bank. He's confident that he's going to make a lot of money. So the same thing with us. We should pay attention to the smallest details of ourselves, of our tefillin, of our whatever. Also, we have to work hard. You have to work hard. Also, we shouldn't be lazy. Serving God, don't be lazy. Be confident, be positive, be optimistic. Don't think negative thoughts. And finally, if you didn't succeed the first time, they try again and again and again. A thief tries over. So these are 7 things that you can learn from one of the worst people in the world. A thief is terrible. If you've ever had somebody steal something from you, right, you know how terrible it is. You work hard for your money. And I know people that thieves broke into their houses, and especially now with drugs and things like that, people do anything for money. And they break into houses and they steal a person. I know a couple of people that had things stolen from them, and they had to put them into rest homes, into mental institutions. They had breakdowns. They come home and everything they worked for, right? They have it all stored away. They didn't want to put it into the bank, or they're just about to go and buy a car or something, and they have $50,000, and all of a sudden it's gone. They're about to buy a house. They have $500,000 in the house, $1 million. Somebody breaks in, steals the whole thing. Terrible. Thief is one of the worst things to be, a thief. But nevertheless, you can learn good qualities from them. There's something to learn from them. Okay, this is sort of like a little bit the opposite of what we learned in Pirkei Avos. Don't become close to the evil people. But sometimes evil people come to you, or you come in contact with them. In any case, you can learn something good from every situation, from every human being, everyone. It says, who is a wise man? Someone who learns from everybody. So even thieves have things to teach us. Have a good day with Moshiach now. See you at 3:00, I hope.